What it is, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ness, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is your source for all things video games and Neo Geo, and today we continue yet again our discussion wrapped around the Neo Geo AES Plus. Now, before we dig into today's episode, I want to give a special shout out to all of you. We broke 5,000 plus subscribers over the weekend, which is absolutely insane. So many of you have come to the channel looking for more information just around Neo Geo, etc. And I am so thrilled to have you here. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to hang with me and learn a little bit about the Neo Geo. We're going to dive in more about the games because this lineup is pretty good. Why did Plaion pick these 10 games for the AES Plus? Metal Slug 1 AES cartridge originally goes for, well, to date, we've seen sales as high as $50,000 plus. In contrast to the AES Plus cartridge, that's only $90. This isn't a greatest hits list. It's a calculated economic correction. Plaion isn't competing with the Neo Geo Mini, they're competing with the hyper-inflated second-hand collector market. The Ultimate Edition bundle, if you bought all 10 launch games, as original new copies today, would cost roughly somewhere in the realm of $80,000 to $92,000.
Hell no, to the no, 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 yeah, to the no.
Yes, and you heard that correctly. If you were to purchase a brand new, mint condition Metal Slug, you're probably looking somewhere in the realm of $50,000 to $60,000. When you start equating that to the other big bang titles that come in this bundle, that's where that $92,000 comes in, which is absolutely absurd when you start thinking about it.
Please, may we get a word?
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
The software lineup is the most impactful part of the news that we've heard so far. So Metal Slug 1, why? Why was that selected over Metal Slug X or Metal Slug 3? It's the holy grail. Owning a physical licensed copy is a dream for 99% of the Neo Geo community. We really start looking into it. Metal Slug was really the Kickstarter of a franchise. Back in the early 90s when it first released, it wasn't a game that was really meant to change the landscape of SNK, but it was. It was a hit in the arcades and it became a household name for those that were lucky enough to own a Neo Geo AES console. But when we start diving more deeper into it, Plaion had a different thought process. At least this is my hypothesis on it. I don't know, I haven't spoken yet to anyone in detail to find out. Twinkle Sprites was a Japanese-only release, making its US and European debut on the English AES. It's a massive deal for shoot-'em-up fans. Polestar is essentially to prove the ASIC's power. It's a sprite-heavy beast that pushes the hardware to its limits. And if we're really thinking about it, this is where the true test of this new console, when we start quote-unquote talking about quality of life features, really, the ASIC chips were struggling somewhat on the original console in certain key areas. Frame rate drops, sprite animations kind of glitching. We saw this on Metal Slug 2. Polestar had a similar case. But if we really deep dive into this, the real test is the power of this console, the AES Plus, going to be able to make the change? I'm going to talk about something that's rather controversial. And I know many of you out there, and at least from what I've read in the comments online, Facebook, everywhere, there's hundreds of different debates going on online, and as well as it should. But let's add salt to the wound real quick. In the collector's community, you would classify these new re-releases as second prints. But you're probably like, Ness, this is an official licensed game from SNK, is it not? It is. But if we really start taking a deep dive, like our brothers and sisters and the Nintendo generation and the Sega generation, etc., we already know about first and second prints. And for those of you that are new to the channel or just new to collecting video games, I'll quickly go through it. A first print, generally designed as a video game that was the first of its kind. First print meaning that it had differentiators from a second or third print. Maybe there was a new rating that needed to be placed on the box, or there was a typo in some of the text on the back of the box. Perfect example with Nintendo. The first print of Mario Bros. 3 being Left Bros, and then later on in the reiterations of Mario Bros. 3, we saw the bros shifted to the right, meaning that it would be a second print. But there were also additional prints outside of that just due through the life cycle of the game. For all sake and purposes here, we're going to be talking about this. My original collection of Neo Geo games would be classified as a first print. Now with these re-released editions, they would be a second print. The variation differences being the ratings, the PEGI, the T ratings, the cartridge differences, the insert differences, possible manual changes. These would all indicate anything from a second print. Does that change the pricing of this market? Absolutely. When we talk about fighting games,
okay, future-ness. This is probably going to get injected into the middle of the video, even though I was pretty much done, and then recently found news on Twitter. It looks like somebody was asking about inserts, and apparently it's double-sided, Japanese and English, but just know we've got double inserts from what I've gathered online. Ness out.
Garou Mark of the Wolves. Why was this selected out of the 75% library of fighting games that were found on the Neo Geo? Why didn't they wait to send this out in the second batch or the third batch of games? Why go out guns blazing at the very beginning? Well, I'll tell you why, at least from my opinion. Garou Mark of the Wolves, and there's going to be a select few of you that disagree, mainly my folks in the comments or my collectors that prefer, out of the Fatal Fury series, Real Bout 2, which in its own right is a very good game. Commercially speaking, Garou kind of holds the keys. It represents the absolute pinnacle of SNK's 2D animation and competitive depth. And then when we go down the list, we look at KOF 2002. Now, for many of my Neo Geo collectors out there, there's been this common debate over many years with many different versions of KOF. Why not KOF 1998 versus 2002? Generally, 1998 would be considered the king of Fighters, no pun intended, but there is subtle differences in differentiation in King of Fighters 2002. 2002 has more complex system mechanics, which appeals to the hardcore audience. I'm pretty sure Plaion's targeting that. And then when we start talking about the next fighting game on this list, Samurai Shodown 5 Special. Why this game? Why did we select the last Samurai Shodown out of the numerous sequels that we saw on the console? Why not the first Samurai Shodown? Well, here's my thought process on it. This is the most strategic pick in my opinion. It was the final official game released for the original hardware in 2004. It represents the end of the line for the 90s era, now serving as a bridge to the new era. Now, in terms of censorship history, this is one of the things that many of you are probably finding out in comments all over the place in terms of Samurai Shodown 5. The overkill feature. There was a censorship. You'll generally hear things like unfixed and fix. These were things that were changed and modified back in the early 2000s. When we were offered Samurai Shodown 5 Special, it originally became to Unfixed. Unfixed had a couple of bugs, glitches, and an overkill feature, which mainly is just fatalities. And it was, I won't say it's gruesome to the comparison of Mortal Kombat, but it was good. But because of those bugs, SNK allowed customers to ship their carts back for an improvement, basically a debug. And to indicate that that cartridge had been fixed, it would apply a little Neo Geo sticker in the corner of the cartridge, indicating that it was a fixed version. And for me personally, I would rather have the option of the overkill or the fatalities, if you will, in the special version. So I hope that Plaion has thought about that in this process.
Okay, future-ness here, interjecting yet again in the time of this video because we have new news. So in terms of the fixed version, it has been confirmed from Plaion, and shout out to a member in Facebook group who let me know in the DMs that this is going to be a fixed version for Samurai Shodown 5 Special. Now, again, kind of to go over the differences one more time. So the fixed version includes crucial bug fixes. for the training mode and gameplay glitches. It's gonna it partially restores character-specific overkill moves, but it still lacks like the graphic body dismemberment, the decapitations, and the splitting seen in like the arcade version. And the unfixed version is the more sought after for a lot of collectors. It's like the first batch release. While it contains more bugs, it's sought after because the original uncensored arcade fatality data is still present on the chips. So owners that had a UniBIOS in their consoles, like I do, they can get the full uncensored gore on the unfixed cartridge, something that's impossible on a fixed one because the data was physically removed. Now, there were like special perfected style things that were added later on for like aftermarket stuff. Not quite sure, but for now, we just know it's fixed. I don't have any other information, but I'll keep you up to date as we find more information.
So in terms of this lineup, there's a couple of unexpected picks that a lot of folks probably wouldn't have thought about releasing, at least in the first batch. Overtop and Big Tournament Golf, aka Neo Turf Masters. Big Tournament Golf is a relaxing staple that every Neo Geo owner wants, but the original copy of Neo Turf Masters in English for the AES has ballooned well over between $15,000 and $30,000.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Classified as a rare find, but there are many collectors out there that do hold a copy of this game. Why is it a reason that we can't find it out there on the open market a lot of times? Because it's a covenanted game that plays very well and holds up even to today's standards. A lot of players of this game will say it holds a staple atop the mountain of golf games. And there is a lot of golf games out there, and I am one to tell you that, in my personal opinion, Neo Turf Masters, aka Big Tournament Golf, is one of the best golf games on the planet. And I've said this on the previous video. There's a reason behind that. There's a reason for it. It draws you in visually. Having an announcer that's constantly engaged with you and showing the character sprites when you mess up and get a bogey, double bogey, triple bogey, and then the constant need to feed quarters because you're not getting bogeys, eagles, or hole-in-ones. It is strategic. You need to play the game as if you're actually on the course.
FutureNess, yet again, I really gotta stop editing it late at night. But an update on Neo Turf Masters, or Big Tournament Golf. We are actually getting an additional golf course, Scotland. Scotland was originally found as a bonus course on the Neo Geo CD, so we're actually getting the most recent up-to-date version of Big Tournament Golf, which is amazing. So look forward to that. That is a big plus when it comes to this particular golf game, because now we're getting the bonus golf course on it. So I thought I'd drop that in here as well.
Overtop solves the racing scarcity that we find in the Neo Geo. There's not very many racing games out there. We have motorcycle games, a few other racers, but Overtop generally is one of, not the rarest, but it's one of the most sought after. Why? Because we never saw it in the English version. We saw this game as a Japanese AES release, and it's actually quite expensive. Overtop can range anywhere between a good $3 to $7K, depending on who you're buying it from that's got it overly inflated.
I really need to stop editing late at night. False. Overtop is not $3,000 to $7,000. I apologize. It is more of a $1,000 to $1,500 game. That is all.
And for collectors, they want it mint in condition, and now we get to get it for the good old price of 90 bucks. Shock Troopers. Now, we've discussed this already on the channel a few times, but let's just be honest. This is one of the few games in the list that never had an AES release at all. Shock Troopers kind of gives that Akari Warriors vibe. Top-down, side-scrolling shooter, and it's good. It's not your Metal Slug, but it gives you a different feel, a different way of gameplay. But the biggest change, this opens the doors for a much larger library. Generally, if we were talking about an English set of Neo Geo games, there would be 94 of them. And I know many of you in the comments are going to be like, well, no, Ness, there's this number. And now I'll interject. I am Tiberius' co-host. Tiberius! Silence, Ness. You've spoken enough today. It's my turn. I know this isn't Mission Neo Geo, but now I, Tiberius' co-host, will discuss Magician Lord. Why was this selected out of all of the glorious games for a launch release? Well, I'll tell you. It was the launch title for the console in 1990. It's supposed to hit those who always longed for a Neo Geo AES, such as myself back in those days. I had the console when it first came out. Ness, unfortunately, was not able to do so.
Yes, Tiberius, we know you're rich. We know you have every single game in your collection, even though we've never seen your collection.
And Ness, you disgust me. 2 videos and you have not included me. You must do better, Ness. I better be on the next ones, or I will confiscate this show.
Well, why don't we do Mission Neo Geo at your house next time?
Besides the point, Magician Lord offers a side-scroller Heart of a Magician. It is unforgiving, and it has an arcade feel, but many on the home console back in the early 90s enjoyed it thoroughly, and it holds a tight and dear, close, and it holds a dear, the heartstrings of many across the world. Now, many of you that are new to the AES may not like it. It may be a little dated for you, but think of it like this. Your casual platformers, there are a few others on the AES that are better, but I can commend that Plaion decided to choose this. That is enough from me. Ness, you may have it back. Tiberius Co. signing off.
I'm just going based off of the licensed number of games that were listed for the English AES set. Now, when we start moving into the Japanese exclusives, meaning the games that we never saw in the US, you start bumping that up to 118, 119 games. And then when you start moving into the MVS exclusives, now you start shifting it even more. Roughly 138 plus games, various homebrews, etc., and side quest style games that you probably could add to the list if you really want to. But now you have a larger library of games that that even we as AES collectors never got to play unless we played them on MVS. And for many, they probably did. I know for myself, there are still a ton of MVS games I've never played before. And would I love to play them now? Of course I would, because now that increases our library to play it on the home console without needing additional consoles and consoleize this and huge arcade systems in our house. Not saying that we don't love those things, but for the sake of more in terms comfortability, ease of use, this makes the most sense. Did Plaion do the right thing by this first bundle? I would say they're setting a statement right now. The strategy wasn't just about fun games. It was about providing access to games that normally would cost someone the price of a decent sports car for just shy of under $1,000. When you really think about it, you're talking about the games. When I calculate the bundle, you can spin it and slice it in any way you want. And for a lot of folks, they're gonna say, those games are so old, they're not worth $90. I beg to differ. If you're a big Neo Geo fan, what's 90 bucks? When you've been dropping hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for the game. Now, that's one subset of individuals. The other subset of individuals will say, well, I can emulate these for free. I don't need these games. This is purely a nostalgia hit. No, that's very true too. But look at the comments. Look at your Facebook posts from all the groups that you're in. Look at your Reddit posts from all the groups that you're in. Many people, and I agree, are excited to have and own a console. It's not just about the need, it's about finally being able to have the financialization of the hobby. People that never were able to afford the console or the games are now in the playing fields of being able to acquire those games and have a small collection of their own. Now, I understand people are going to be passionate and angry about the marketplace. There's going to be folks out there that are going to be quite upset. Why? Buyer's remorse. It's going to be a real thing. You're going to have individuals that maybe purchased a game months ago, weeks ago,
for thousands of dollars, a couple $100s, and now you see this announcement and you're like, oh no, what do I do? I wasted all this money. You didn't waste any money. You acquired the first print of that game. You still have history in your hands. You just now get to have that game and you don't have to worry about dropping $90 on it. I've heard many stories over the last couple of days, both from buyers and sellers. Some buyers were happy with their purchases of a couple $100 to $1,000+ for their games, knowing that they're going to get a new console to play it on. Others had buyer's remorse, where they felt like, I made a mistake and I wasted so much money. The $3,000 to $4,000 that I spent on this game, I could acquire the next couple of bundles with that money. I can see the logic there. We get to squash all of that now. For my collectors that want to own the original games, continue doing so. But understand that just because you have games that are now $90, that doesn't mean that you can go into someone's cell and lowball them. If you're gonna do that, just buy the $90 game and be done. And for my sellers that want to sell the new or the older, the first print versions of those games, understand your market has now changed. The demand for your games has slowly gone down. Will that stay the same? Probably not. I think we're going to have a huge shake in this market. And that's only going to take time. There's a lot of debate going on right now, and I tell everyone on both sides, just chill, sit back, wait, be patient. If you don't need to sell the games or if you don't need to buy the games, don't do it. Just be patient. I acquired games over 5+ years. This wasn't something that I just dropped all this money all at once. No, it was stagnant. I broke it down into chunks, saved bonus money here and there, allocated savings that I did, made investments to save money to get and create my collection. That's how I built it. But for many of you out there, you now get the option of acquiring these games at a much more cost-effective price, which is awesome. And I commend you. To be honest, had this been out back when I first started, I would have been acquiring these $90 games. Do I have buyer's remorse? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, to me, it was worth the money. Why? Because I like the games. That's what this is all about, the games. Playing them, enjoying them, feeling that passion of the kid, maybe even feeling the passion of just owning one and opening the box for the first time. For many of you, you get to open a sealed Neo Geo AES box for the first time. And I'm gonna be right there alongside with you because I pre-ordered as well. I pre-ordered an Ultimate and an Anniversary Edition. So you'll get to see an unboxing and my first thoughts, of course, when that arrives in November. So I'm looking forward to it. Well, the Neo Geo was the rich woman or man's console of the 1990s. And in 2026, it's every person's system now. As it sits, we have much more to discuss, but hopefully this video was helpful. Stay tuned. I will have some updates, etc. coming soon. I'm still trying to stockpile and get information as quickly as I can because I know you all still have questions. I'm just as excited as you are. Collect and play the way you want to collect and play your games. We'll check you next time. Peace.